Let f of x equals cosine of x. Determine the x values that the function has a maximum or a minimum value. So you'll want to check out the other videos on how to graph these functions in case you don't have exactly cosine of x. But if you were to go into a graphing software, you could see that f of x equals cosine of x has this type of graph. It starts at the peak of the amplitude, goes down to the bottom, and then by the time it reaches 2 pi, it's reached the top again. Okay, so that's the interval we were asked to graph on, and I'm going to put a closed dot here and an open circle here because we can't exactly equal 2 pi. Okay, so maximum minimum on the graph. Look, since it's an open dot, it doesn't exactly reach the maximum, so our maximum happens right here. The highest point on the y-axis is at x equals 0. The maximum occurs at x equals 0. Since this is a parentheses, it means we have to put an open dot, so we don't actually reach the maximum of 2 pi. In calculus, we'd say the limit as x approaches 2 pi from the left would be 1. It'd be the maximum, but that's the limit. That's not the exact value. Okay, so it reaches the maximum at x equals 0, and on the interval 0 to 2 pi, closed on 0, open on 2 pi. What's the minimum values? That's how low can it go? It reaches its lowest point right here, halfway between the two endpoints. So if you were to cut 2 pi in half, that means we reach the endpoint at capital P, lowercase I for pi. Okay, and I think that's it. So if you had a different function, if you had like f(x) equals 2 cosine 2 of x, you got to do a little bit of extra work here. The 2 means it doesn't start at 1 at the peak of its amplitude. The amplitude's peak is now 2, and that means it goes down to -2, and then by the time we reach pi, we should be back to the start. And I didn't pull pi just out of thin air, okay? I got pi because I used the formula for the period. The period is 2 pi divided by the absolute value of b, and this is your b, the coefficient of x, okay? So 2 pi divided by 2 gives me 1 pi. So that's how I knew it reached there. So now my highest value is at x equals 0 still. And x equals pi over 2 is my lowest value.